Welcome into week 7 on the HeliPod. As always, we are presented by Vuori. With us from the very beginning, the finest athleisure wear on the planet. And MJD, is it starting to get a little colder as we move into fall on the East Coast? I suggest you get some Vuori hoodies.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're on the West Coast, so it doesn't get that cold. Only in the mornings and at night on the West Side, but other than that, I mean, I love it for hiking. I love it for working out. I love it just to go to the coffee shop and get, a little mango tea. I love it just to wear and sleep, actually. I normally sleep with nothing on, but I wear Vuori to sleep now because it's so comfortable.
I didn't need to know that you bareback it when you sleep. But yeah, Vuori is unbelievable. The material couldn't be more comfortable. I like these quarter zips that I'm wearing now. You're obviously wearing one of the hoodies. It's VUORI clothing.com/helipod to get 20% off today. VUORI clothing.com/helipod. You can wear it everywhere. I promise you, you're going to love it. With that being said, it is now time for the HeliPod with MJD, presented by Vuori. You know what we never talk about, MJD, is like what you do during the week. Because you're always running around. You're doing 100 different things.
I do.
Was this week as busy for you?
This week was crazy. So I do NFL Network UK on Monday. Well, I do the NFL UK on Monday. We do stream Monday Night Football for all the folks in London, England, Scotland.
You got a lot of fans over there, don't you?
Oh, I love it. It's awesome. They're engaging. We have a great time. Tuesday I do Total Access, which is always good because you're kind of reviewing the week that just happened and we're leading into the next week. Sure. Yeah. Wednesday I work with you in the mornings, and then I do Fantasy Wednesdays. Thursday is my Rams day, all Rams podcast, pregame show that we do, or like kind of the same thing on like Total Access. And then Friday is Fantasy, and then Saturday I normally drive to the Bay Area to see my kids who play football and different sports, watch them, and then I come back down here and go back to work on Sunday to call the Rams games.
It is a multimedia superstar that we're doing this podcast with.
No, I mean, it's all sports related, but I'm trying to get into the daytime eventually.
Yeah, he's looking at our photographer and editor Brian here. He has a lot of big plans for Brian down the road. No question. So I'm looking forward to that. Well, good. I'm just give everybody kind of a feel because I want them to know how dialed in you are each and every day during the week. I had an interesting week. Instead of going in Sunday morning to do the Fantasy Zone show that I do for DirecTV, I get the call from my executive producer that Andrew Siciliano, who is the Red Zone host, had tested positive that morning for COVID. And we had gone over a few weeks prior that if this does happen, because the way it works at DirecTV is that they'll send us a test at home, and we do the swabs ourselves. We FedEx it back. It takes a couple days to get there. And that's during the week. And then Sunday morning, we all go in and take a rapid test. It's about 15 minutes, do the nose swab. Not all the way down like the whole.
I heard Andrew had to do the whole nose
he
did
the whole deal. Yeah,
Whew, better than me. I wouldn't be working.
So he tests negative. They call me. I'm like, all right. So I roll in. I test. Andrew tests again. He tests positive rather the first time, tests negative. But they said, you know what? Let's just be careful. So I hadn't watched the Red Zone in 5 years because I'm working on Sunday. Right. I'm doing my show on Sunday. I'm calling games on Sunday. I'm doing something on Sunday. So the most interesting thing for me was just knowing kind of the rundown of the show, the order in which you do things. There's a 7 or 8 minute open where you go to with a touch screen and we're going to this game, we're going to that game. And it's just talking football. You're bouncing around from game to game, but it's just finding that rhythm. It's when they put 3 or 4 games up on the screen at one time and you're like, okay, what game is that? What game is that? So I did my best to not look at the mentions on Twitter because I knew I was going to get killed. Just because it wasn't.
Why because you should look at him.
No, because I wasn't Andrew, right? So Andrew's been doing it for 15 years. He's an ace. So I was just like, I have 2 researchers on either side who are giving you names and helping you as you go, and it was fine. But it took about an hour to where you really like, okay, the flow of it. This is how we do it.
Yeah.
And once we got going, it was fun. I mean, the energy that flows through you when you have 9 games on at one time and there's a touchdown here, there's an interception here, there's a sack here, and you're bouncing around from game to game. And from a play-by-play background, it's really a lot of fun to do. But it was funny. So, of course, you go back and you look at the mentions after the fact. And there was a fair share of negative criticism just because that's what people with Twitter fingers like to do.
No question.
And I tell you, it took everything I had not to come back at a couple of these people, but I didn't. You look at their followers and they have 14.
Are you taking it personal, Dan?
No, I'm not taking it personal at all. But
so you got your first taste of being an athlete, being a professional athlete. That's what happens. Well, it comes with the territory.
Listen,
comes with the price.
You always get that. I would get that on Total Access. You get it more when you call a game.
Listen, can I tell you something? You always tell people, if you're going to talk trash, just hit the follow button and do it. Don't be one of those guys that talk trash and don't follow me, because it doesn't make any sense.
So if they follow you and they talk trash, you're good with it?
Yeah, I'm all good with it. Just hit the follow button. You put more money in my pocket.
Well, it had been a while since that happened, but it was an awesome experience. Had a ton of fun. But it's really, you can't come back. What are you going to say? Well, why don't you try it, man? It's harder than you think.
That's the response. Like,
that's
what do you do?
Right.
But I love that. I've always told people this, even since I was like a kid. I love the back and forth, like with people. Like it's awesome to me. It I don't know what it is. It's not like I'm a competitor, but it's not a competition thing. It's just like I want to know who you are, and we're gonna get into some things here. People are gonna kind of figure out who I am, and I think on this helipod more than anything. But I love to hear like people talk to me. Like I'll be out to eat, hanging out, and someone will come up and say something, and I'm like, "Who's your team?" "Oh, they suck." Like the first thing is always negative. Just I want to see how you react. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. Like, oh, man, you're a Vikings fan? Well, that Kirk Cousins, he robbed you again.
Well, I will tell you that 9 times out of 10, when you go back at somebody and you're not a total jackass, they feel bad. They feel bad.
Yeah.
And that's not what you're going for, but I just find it interesting that Twitter is a fascinating space to me.
There's one, and I'm glad we're talking because this happened. It really upset me. I'm very particular on especially females in our sport because people don't understand what they go through. I remember being around Colleen Wolfe when I first got to the NFL Network, and she literally read the research packet from front to back every week. Like she was on it. Like she put in the hours. I didn't do that. Right, because I was just fresh out of the game, so I didn't need to dive in. She was reading like an almanac and all type of crazy stuff. And just so happened last week, I was on Twitter and I saw a guy who went at Aditi Kinkabala about her child being be a professional. And this is
she was on a Zoom call and she doesn't have childcare, and the kid made some noise in the background while she was on a Zoom call with I think Mike Tomlin, somebody from the Steelers.
So, and you got to be a professional, and it's like, first of all, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Okay, I don't care if she could have had child care or not. She didn't want her to put her child around anyone else. That is her right to do that. I wouldn't put my kids around anyone else either. It's the middle of a pandemic, bro. Like, I don't know what that person's doing, first and foremost. Second of all, she does a tremendous job each week. Like, don't bash her for that. Like, you don't even know what she goes through. She has to be a mom, a wife, a reporter, who we know how the network is. They pull. They want to get everything out of you all the time, which is awesome. But she's getting pulled in 17 different directions. And for someone to say, jump on that, that's why I wanted to say a bad word or 3, but I decided, I was like, look, I think I said something like, don't apologize to this bum. Like, get your news elsewhere then. Like you do a tremendous job. Like and one of the reasons I picked the Steelers almost every week is because of what Aditi reported throughout training camp about how good they were and all the things they were doing. Like, that's where you get that's where you get most of your information from, are people like that.
I just think to complain about something like that during what we're going through as a country right now. Listen, there are general managers that are during the draft, you could hear kids screaming "mom" in the background.
Yes.
From their home. It's a different time. Yeah. Like, pick something more important to complain
All right, let's get to what we got to get
to
now. I'm
football,
off my high horse now.
Speaking of complaining, the Cowboys are an absolute disaster. Dude, I haven't seen a defense this bad in freaking decades. They've allowed 218 points. It's the most by an NFL team through 6 games in 66 years. The offense, obviously,
6 is bad.
Listen, Dak's gone. They're missing both starting tackles. They're on their 3rd-string center. Zach Martin is in concussion protocol. Brandon Knight, who was at left tackle, just had surgery. He's going to miss a couple games. And then, speaking of reporters, fine reporters, Jane Slater, our friend from NFL Network, comes out with this report that the Cowboys players are upset. They're saying this, the coaches, they just aren't good at their jobs. They don't have any sense of adjusting on the fly. They don't teach. They're totally unprepared. Is there a bigger indictment on a coaching staff than that?
Well, I'll say this. I think, at first the players were trying to, and again, I was a player, but I also have coached and I've also have front office knowledge, to say the least. Like in Jacksonville, I was able to learn a lot in the front office around some of the GMs that I was around, like Shaq Harris, Gene Smith. And I have buddies who are in the front office all the time. So you're able to talk football, you understand how they think. And coaching wise as well, coaching little kids, I get it. There's nothing harder than a youth football coach. This is nothing. Youth football coaches, this is the hardest thing in the world because you have parents that tell their kids to do one thing because they don't know what you're talking about. So neither here nor there. What happened in this situation is the players are trying to keep it as quiet as possible, right? But it started leaking out. It starts leaking out first, like, oh, the players are out of, and then you have everyone on TV blaming the players. They're not giving effort. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. And what I've come to realize, and this is my take, and this is what I see from the Dallas Cowboys, is that they're behind the time. Mike Nolan, their DC, is an old DC, right? He was in the league when I was in the league. He was in the league before I was in the league. And back then it was, we're going to run multiple defenses. We're going to be a multiple defense. We're going to do all this to confuse the offense. Well, think about the college game. When you look at the college game, especially over the last 10 years, I'll say 10 years, defenses have had to go simple because of the tempo of offense. So you can't be as complex and multiple. You have to run like a couple coverages, have a couple checks, and you just let them play fast. Well, that's where your disconnect goes because guess what? All those kids, all those guys on the Dallas Cowboys defense, they're young. There ain't nobody old there. Most of them are real young. Young dudes who are used to being simple defenses. And when you get them in the third down, you can get a little creative, but for the most part, you have to be like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to play fast. We're going to do this. That's what defenses come to in the league because of all the motions, all the shifts, all those other things. So you have to make sure that you eliminate eye violations. You eliminate coverage breakdowns. That's what you're getting a lot of in Dallas. If I have to think about what my responsibility is before the ball snapped, and I don't know, and then I'm getting motions and all these other things, I'm going to give up big runs all the time. Offensively, this is the issue. Well, let's remember, they were the number one offense last year in football. So there is no like, well, hold on, let me go back. They were the number 10 defense last year with Chris Richard and Rod Marinelli because they were very simple. I won't say they're top 10. I don't know if they're 10 or not, but they're top 10. This year, they're dead last. So that's telling me that's a coaching thing. That ain't a player's thing. That's a coaching thing, first and foremost. When you look at the offense, especially now without Dak Prescott, you have to be creative as an offensive coordinator because guess what? You just can't rely on you don't have ballers anymore. This is when you get to coach. This is when it's fun. Mike Tomlin said it best last year when Big Ben got down. We actually got to coach. We got to coach better. We got to get creative and do certain things. You have to do motions. And James Jones is a guy who's a big Mike McCarthy fan, as I was when he was in Green Bay. But just lining up at one position and not moving and no motions and no shifts, you're going to get dominated in this league, especially if you don't have the talent, which the Cowboys don't on the offensive line. The Cowboys' offensive line's banged up. Your quarterback's out. You have to start doing different things. And Kellen Moore has to be more of a vocal point in that and saying, we need to do shifts. We need to do motion. We need to do jet sweeps. We need to be creative and try to get defenses on their heels so that we can get chunks down the field. But if you continue to line up in I formation or through our receiver sets and just be stagnant, you're going to get slapped every week. And then for the player's point of view, or for the player's standpoint, quit snitching. It is what it is. You have to go out there and play. You have to find a middle ground. You have to be able to communicate with your coach and say, look, and I think Jalen Smith tried it, and then they were like, we're not doing it. Well, you're going to keep getting gashed then. But offensively, you have to go to Kellen Moore, who's a younger guy, and say, listen, this is what I think we should try. Or communicate on the sideline. They don't make any adjustments. They don't do anything.
Well, Dak, when you have a guy like Dak at quarterback, I'm sure
it's
he's
different now, right? It's
right?
different now, though, Dak. I mean, how many people are saying Andy Dalton? Oh, Andy Dalton's just as good. Where's my single?
I don't know that I heard anybody say he was just as good. But what I did hear a lot of people say is that there wasn't going to be a big drop-off.
Oh, it ain't, huh?
But I will say this about Andy. He did not look good. Zeke fumbled twice.
Yep.
Michael Gallup dropped a touchdown pass.
That was at the end of the game, though.
Dalton threw a pick that should have been a PI. So there were a lot of breaks.
He also threw another pick that was a
bad.
pick. He tried to shoot into the house.
I know. You're absolutely right. I'm just saying he's not as bad as that score indicated or as his stats indicated, but he's not Dak Prescott. And I don't think anybody made more money over the weekend than Dak Prescott did.
Well, this is the other issue I have, and this is going to come back to like the recycled coaches thing. You have to remember, coaches as a game changer. You know who went through this? John Gruden went through this with the Oakland Raiders, now the Vegas Raiders. You have to change with the time. John Gruden comes in, we're going to run the ball like he was like Tampa, like he was back in Tampa in 2000. Like, but that don't work no more. The rules have changed. It's a passing league. They want to be more passing. You can still run the ball if you want to, but you have to take advantage of the rules, like a lot of these other teams are. You have to grow with the time. I feel like Mike McCarthy is still running the same thing he was running in Green Bay back when they won that Super Bowl like so many years ago, and they didn't win anything else.
Here's the question I have about Mike McCarthy. He took a year off and did nothing but study the game and watch film. He kind of did what Gruden did when he was off. He had that like fired coaches association all in a room together, and they're banging it out. They're grinding.
All that sounds good, but you are who you are. Okay, they
did
say
he learn nothing?
Well, honestly, that's who he is. Like it's like the whole frog and the scorpion, right? The scorpion's like, hey, frog, can you swim me to the other side? And the frog's like, but you're gonna sting me. He's like, I'm not gonna sting you. I've changed. It's not like that anymore. I promise you. I can't do it. I won't do it. The frog's like, all right, get on my back. I'll swim you across. And as they're going across, the scorpion stings him. You know why? Because that's what the scorpion does. He stings people.
I've never heard the frog and the scorpion.
What is it? Which was it?
I don't know.
I think that's what it is, though, right? And there's this. Y'all don't. Oh, you gotta look it up. Look it up and edit it in there. It's the frog.
I'm not gonna edit it, but while we talk, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, go ahead. It's the frog and the scorpion.
Right.
I promise you. Anyways, Mike McCarthy is who he is. You can try to change who you are. It doesn't matter. The old adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You can't do that. It's hard to change someone, especially when they're stuck in their ways.
The scorpion and the frog.
Listen, I'm going to learn you something.
It's an animal fable which teaches that vicious people often cannot resist hurting others, even when it is not in their best interests.
So I'm not saying that he's vicious, but it goes with my analogy that Mike McCarthy can't change who he is. He is who he is. He is who we thought he was.
No, that's later.
He is who we thought he was. You know why? He can't change, and that's okay. It's just not. It just doesn't work right now. And so now Dallas has to go through a full rebuild. They're gonna have to, either try to get someone in there with a bigger voice.
If he can't change, and I'm Jerry Jones, I'm not going through a full rebuild. I'm getting rid of Mike McCarthy after 1 year, and I'm going to eat that entire contract.
There's no way they do that. There's no
Zero
way.
Chance.
There's zero chance.
Dallas wins 4 games this year.
Zero chance. You know why? He's going to say, "Oh, we had injuries."
No, they did, and they do. But so do a lot of people.
But they were losing before all those injuries.
The Eagles have a bunch of injuries too. Okay, listen, I want to fast forward now because the trade deadline's coming up November 3rd.
So do we close that topic? What do you think about it?
Do you want to keep?
I just want to put a nice bow on it.
Put a button on it?
Yeah.
I think they're a disaster, and I don't understand how Mike McCarthy hasn't made better adjustments. I actually really like Mike Nolan as a human being. He was at NFL Network.
He was awesome at the network.
So I have trouble criticizing him, but when you look at the numbers, they have to change something defensively. I have no idea if getting a guy like Randy Gregory back, off the commissioner's exempt list is going to help them at all on defense.
If you continue to run, so Mike McCarthy said this best. We're not going to be a one-call defense. We're going to be a multiple defense. We're going to continue to get slapped in because you're asking your players to do things that they've never done before. You have to remember the game. You have to change with the game.
Well,
high school change, college change. College changes, pro change. That's why you get a lot of college coaches come to the pros. You have to adapt to your players.
And I think you have to mold the game plan to your players, which is something that the younger coaches, the Sean McVays, the Matt LaFleurs, the Kyle Shanahans, they do so well. So perhaps some of these older coaches could do themselves some good by studying the younger coaches. Dallas taking on Washington this week. Washington is not a good football team. Dallas is only a 1-point favorite.
I don't even. Where's it at?
I believe it's in Dallas.
Yeah, I think I may mess around and pick the Skins in that one or the football team.
You can't say that anymore.
The football team.
Yeah, really? I wish I would have had that on the. Yeah, it's in Washington.
I don't trust.
That game's
Terry McLaurin's about to go crazy.
Yeah, he's gonna have himself a game. Well, somebody needs to get him the ball. Kyle Allen can deliver every other game. Trade deadline. Okay, what's a trade that you would like to see? I'm going to give you two.
Well, I see you have one guy that I would, but not for that to that team. Well, so I would do Sam Darnold to the Colts if I was in Indianapolis Colts. I'll let Phillip finish the year out, but I want Sam Darnold because you know why? He fits what I want to do. And we have a line that can protect him. We'll add some pieces in the draft, maybe free agency.
Is Sam Darnold that much better than Jacoby Brissett?
He's younger, and he's more moldable. I mean, he's coming from Adam Gase, who didn't teach him anything. So literally, you can mold him a little bit more to what you want. I think Frank Reich has that ability.
I'm looking at teams that are basically in the midst of lost seasons and not necessarily dismantling, but maybe getting rid of some higher priced players to try to get some return on their investment. Mm-hmm. Julio Jones has, I believe, one more year of guaranteed money on his $66 million contract.
Rid of him, man. I'm gonna tell you what, they can't get rid of him.
Why?
So there's a dynamic. Certain guys, and you know this, Dan. There's certain guys in the league that you don't get rid of. You may ask him to restructure his deal at the end of the year and then trade him, but you're not going to do it right now. Julio's not going anywhere. You can't send Julio
because
anymore.
Of the message. The messaging is just so bad.
That's a bad message to your locker room, especially when you still have opportunity to get back in it if you roll off a couple victories here.
So you like Sam Darnold to the Colts. I like Sam Darnold to Washington.
Well, obviously you would.
For Dwayne Haskins and a third-round pick. I know the Jets would like to get more for Darnold.
Listen, you want me to tell you what I've heard with the Jets?
Talk to me.
The Jets are getting, as we can tell, they're getting everyone out of there. They're in a full rebuild mode. Sam Darnold will be traded. It won't be it may be during the season, it may not be during the season, but he's going to get traded. And they're going to take
tanking
Trevor
for Trevor. You know, of course. So I guess what I'm saying is Dwayne Haskins would be, I would just.
Why would you go get Dwayne Haskins?
Here's why. Because the Jets have scored 5 points per game without Sam Darnold. So if you want to make sure that you get Trevor Lawrence, get Sam Darnold out.
But why would I take another quarterback?
He could be your backup quarterback.
Why? I'm going to pay a first rounder money for a backup? No,
you have him there.
The football team is stuck with Dwayne Haskins unless they cut him or try to trade him elsewhere at the end of the year. Which again, I know Ron Rivera was like, "Oh, we still believe in him," but that's
for me. It'd be more about the pick. Like if you can't get a second rounder somewhere and you can't find a dance partner, you take that third rounder and you basically lock up the fact that you're going to have the worst record in the NFL and you're going to get Trevor Lawrence. Couple other trades. There's so many wide receivers out there that I think could be beneficial to teams. You know, the Cowboys are one, right? Michael Gallup has a year left on his rookie deal. You take any receiver on the Texans. Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks.
I heard they're all up. They're all up.
I mean,
they're trying to get rid of everybody.
They could help somebody.
But who? Who needs a receiver?
Well, the Raiders could use one.
The Raiders have a bunch of young dudes. They're not going to spend money on that.
I know, but if the Raiders believe they have a realistic shot to make the playoffs this year, you don't think they'd add a Brandon Cooks?
I don't think they will.
The Patriots could certainly use a receiver.
But Patriots already had Brandon Cooks. They're not going that route. They let him go. They traded him to the Rams. Will Fuller, I think, may go somewhere. But again, you have to remember, if I trade you, I'm trading for the future. So if I trade you, I know I have to pay you. Are any of these guys making plays enough to get paid? AJ Green is I see him on here. Who is going to pay AJ Green right now?
Well, he's a free agent after the season. So to your point, you're paying him right now. I'm looking at teams that are losing and want to get rid of some high-priced parts, and teams that are in a win-now mode.
So who's in a win-now mode? Tell me that. Give me some guys.
Well, I think Green Bay is 100% in win-now mode.
But Green Bay's not going to trade for a receiver. They're not going to do that. They haven't drafted a first-round receiver.
Well, that's why. I just think if you're looking at the way that Aaron Rodgers has played, let's throw out last week because I think the previous 4 or 5 weeks.
Why would I trade for a guy if Aaron Rodgers has been balling with a bunch of dudes off the street?
Well, let's make good great. Let's make it better.
He's been playing great, but Green Bay doesn't do that.
I know,
every team.
I'm just trying to think outside the box a little bit.
You're trying to get outside the box. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you a good one. If I'm the Indianapolis Colts, T.Y. Hilton hasn't really been doing much. We need to kind of spruce his room up a little bit. I don't see an in division trade like I did with the Jags and the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see you can probably go out and get Michael Gallup to help that Colts team.
No, I think that's a great thought. See,
see what I'm saying?
now you're
Like
thinking outside the box a little bit.
But I'm not. It's not that I'm thinking. I'm just trying to give you to put it more in context for our fans, our listeners. Like, you just can't just throw out teams because certain teams don't do those things. You got to make sure it's a team that's willing, that's looking to get better, that feels like the Colts feel like they have a chance. They made that big trade for Buckner. They brought in Phillip Rivers, $25 million, all that stuff. But guess what? They need some weapons over there.
No, they have injuries at the receiver position. Trey Burton's come back at tight end. That's helped him out a little bit. But, yeah, T.Y. Listen, I thought T.Y. was going to have a resurgent year because this is a contract year, and generally dudes in contract years.
Well, you got to have somebody to throw you the ball, though.
Well, Phillip has been
Jekyll and Hyde.
He's been subpar. He's been subpar.
I love that he was talking trash after beating the Bengals. I love that. Like, dude, you just threw the game away against the Browns, and you're in a dogfight with the Cincinnati Bengals, okay? And a rookie quarterback, and you're like, I read everything. I bet you do.
Is he what you thought he was?
Who, Phillip Rivers?
Yeah.
That's who he's been the last 3 years. Turnover machine. Same thing Sam Darnold was when he was in high school, college, and now in the pros. Turnover machines.
Is that who you want to be? They are who we thought they were this week? Is that yours?
No, I got a.
Do you have one?
I can think of one, but I got one.
All right, we're gonna do this segment now.
I'm ready.
All right. It is time. It's been a couple weeks since we did this. For they are who we thought they were.
The Bears are who we thought they were. And that's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
Danny Green, rest in peace. That was one of the greatest, that was one of the greatest post-game rants of all time.
Literally.
Okay, while you're thinking, I'm going to talk.
Go ahead.
They are who we thought they were. The Tennessee Titans, after you predicted that the Texans were going to go in there and beat up on them.
Oh, my. Did they not do that?
The floor is mine. They're undefeated. 5-0 after that comeback win. It's their second game in 5 days after that COVID outbreak. Now, it cost them. They lost Taylor Lewan, torn ACL. Tyson Brylo's going to probably move over to left tackle. They're going to get the rookie Isaiah Wilson in there and try to get him some reps somewhere on that offensive line.
You better put him at left tackle.
I don't think they're putting him at left tackle, bro.
They better.
No, he hasn't played yet. He's been dealing with all kinds of stuff. He hasn't really practiced that much.
He's been dealing with a lot of stuff.
Derrick Henry joins Hall of Famers Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, and LT as the only players to reach at least 200 and score 2 touchdowns in a game 3 different times.
That's crazy.
He's just a monster. And here's the thing that I want you to realize about the Tennessee Titans. They are more than just Derrick Henry. They have other playmakers on offense.
They got one other dude. They have another.
Brown.
That's about it.
Okay. Jonnu Smith has 5 touchdown catches this year. He has been banged up. And how about put some respect on his name? Ryan Tannehill.
You stop it.
Has played as well as any quarterback in the National Football League since he's taken over the reins.
You're right.
In Nashville.
You want to know why he's played so well? Because he can turn around and hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. Well, that's literally it. So don't give me all this. Don't give me all that. Every time that he has a big game is because the team is trying to stop Derrick Henry, and he throws every throw is off a play action pass, and the guys are running wide open. Now AJ Brown is a monster. That ball he threw against the Houston Texans. Before I even go any further, I know you were terrified when Houston came roaring back, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
I know you were.
But I knew how smart Mike Vrabel was. I saw exactly what he was doing on the sideline.
I wanted to text you and be like, Dan, because I told you, like, now I'll say Houston's out of it now. But if they would have won that game, Houston would have been on a tear because now they're playing with abundance of confidence.
What did you say last week about Houston?
I said that the Houston Texans will beat Tennessee Titans and run the table. And I know for a fact if they would have beat them, and it was a close game, if they would have beat them, that they would have ran the table. They would have beat the Green Bay Packers, who were coming off a nasty loss. They would have just started rolling teams because they're a team that play. They need to be they're front runners. They need to play with confidence. When you win, it builds up confidence. And front runner is not a bad thing. It's you win. When you constantly win, you become better. And so
that's what's happening in Tennessee right now. The way that they won, the way that they won at the end, that play, the king cat,
hold on,
the
Ryan
throw to
Tannehill,
AJ Brown.
No, forget all that. In overtime, Ryan Tannehill made one throw.
And it's the one that mattered the most.
The check down to Derrick Henry.
What do
In overtime?
No, before that.
For
What got him to
53
overtime?
yards?
What got him there?
Derrick Henry he ran a 94-yard touchdown. Well, come on, Dan, stop messing with me.
Would you not give him credit for that throw to A.J.
Yeah,
Brown?
I think that was arguably one of the better throws he's ever made, I think, me personally. But also A.J. Brown went up and got that thing and put two. Like, I'll say this. He's not he's the oil to the engine to make it go, but he's not the engine. Derrick Henry's the engine. Ryan Tannehill was the piece that they needed to get this thing going, but this thing is run off of. I'm going to tell you why this thing is run off of Derrick Henry. Let me tell you why. There's one time it happened once. Anytime, I've never seen this done in the history of the NFL. I'm looking at my single here because I want people to really understand what I'm talking about. Last year against the New England Patriots on a 2-minute drill, the Tennessee Titans ran the ball every play.
Did it work?
Yes, they went down and scored. So this is what I'm trying to tell
Right.
you. If in a 2-minute situation where you're supposed to throw the ball, you're turning around and hand the ball off to your back, that tells me he's the guy. Ryan Tannehill's a great piece. He's a really good piece to that offense, but that doesn't work without Derrick Henry. And that's why I said the Tennessee Titans should have drafted Jonathan Taylor in the draft so you could have two guys back-to-back running. That's neither here nor there. This is they are who we thought they were. And I'm going to go to the NFC least. Dallas Cowboys, we just talked about them. They're all in a rut. And guess what? They're still in first place in the NFC East.
Which is incredible. We didn't mention that earlier.
It doesn't matter, baby. You're still in first place. Figure this thing out. Like, if you figure it out, you mess around and may have a home playoff game. That's how crazy this is. The Philadelphia Eagles are banged up, losing guys left and right. I think only Carson Wentz and their center Kelsey are the only two starters on offense. I mean, we just talked. Well, I haven't even got to the Giants yet. The Giants are, they're still trying to figure life out as well. They did beat the Washington football team, and your boy Kyle Allen had a chance to run in and score the 2-point conversion, but he thought of Jalen Ramsey as he was running to go in, and he didn't want to take that shot. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, but the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys can still win it, and they are who we thought they were. They're a bad division.
It's a horrendous division. I have one more. They are who we thought they were, and it's the Jets. I mentioned earlier that when Sam Darnold's not playing, they average 5 points per game. They currently have a point differential of minus 110. But
isn't Adam Gase supposed to be like this offensive guru? Like, he's supposed to be this guy that, like, he's been this top offensive guy, right? That's why they brought him up there, right?
Well, of course, that was the theory. Adam Gase latched on to Peyton Manning in Denver. He was his offensive coordinator, which is the easiest job in America.
The guy that pretty much brings him coffee because Peyton runs his own offense.
Because Peyton runs his own offense. And that got him. Yeah, actually, I have to say that I respect the fact that Adam Gase turned that relationship into two different head coaching jobs. That's pretty impressive.
Well, I mean, part of it happens when Peyton calls places and says he vouches for you, which to me is, I don't know what that means. Like, he vouched for me. Like, all right, cool. Like, you're not the quarterback. That system works with Peyton Manning. That's it. That's all. We've seen it. It didn't work with Jay Cutler. It didn't work with Ryan Tannehill in Miami. And it dang sure ain't working with the Jets right now. And then this is the other part that gets me about Adam Gase, because I have to say my piece with it.
This has to be the last week we talk about Gase.
Okay,
we talk about him every week.
This is my last piece with it. Coaches like him, because there's a bunch of them in this league that believe their system is what works. That's what's wrong with coaching. That's why you have bad coaches, because they believe it's the system. It's never the system. It's the players. Now, people are going to say, well, what about Kyle Shanahan? What about the Shanahan offense? Guess what Shanahan does for Deebo Samuel? We saw what he did to the Rams. He changed his system to fit his players.
Right.
George Kittle changed his system to fit his players. Jimmy Garoppolo in Miami didn't play well. Guess what they had him do against the Rams? Quick steps, things he's great at. 1, 2, 3, the ball's out. Everything was quick. Play action, runs. They made the game simple. Yeah, he has a system, but he caters it to his players.
Well, and you look at the Patriots have a system, but they are the most chameleon-like team in the NFL.
They're running something completely different with Cam Newton right now.
Every week. 100%.
And this is another thing. You will never win. Make sure this is in bold letters when I say this, all right, bro? In the NFL, you will never win unless you have talented players, period. I don't care how great of a coach you are. I don't care what your system is. None of that matters. Them dudes on the cross those white lines, they have to be really good in order to win. When you look at all the Patriot teams, they had really good players. Gronkowski is probably arguably the greatest tight end to ever play the game. You had a defense that was flying around full of all Pro Bowl players and all pro players. offensive linemen have always been really good in New England. Like, they've had guys. Julian Edelman is still one of the best receivers in the game, like when he comes down to it, when you look at his numbers. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. You have to have great play. That's why when dudes leave New England, they go other places, guess why it doesn't work?
Well, they don't have the coaching. They don't have the system.
No, they don't have the players. They have the system and they have the coaches. That's why they leave.
When they leave New England?
Yeah, they go and take guys all the time. Matt Patricia's had one of the top defenses when he was in New England. What is Detroit right now? Do we know?
Well, they're not good. They're not terrible. They're just not good.
They were worse than when Jim Caldwell had them.
No, that's true. He was 97 last year.
Exactly. Which tells me that New England stuff works because they have really good players, man. And that's what it comes down to. Players.
But they get those players from somewhere else and they make them better.
What players? They draft most of their guys. They don't get a lot of guys. They don't get a lot of guys from other places.
They find spare parts from Wes Welker's a perfect example of that.
Wes Welker was an undrafted free agent to Miami.
Yeah.
They brought him over and they built a system around him.
Yeah.
Guess what they did? Guess who they replaced him?
Julian Edelman.
And where was he before this?
Julian Edelman was a quarterback in
at
college.
Kent State.
Yes.
And they converted him to a receiver, and they built a system around him. Guess what? They drafted Gronkowski. I don't even want to mention the other guy's name that they drafted with Gronkowski that ended up being
when they had Aaron Hernandez and Gronk. That was kind of the first really two tight end system we saw. And you're like, wow, those guys are uber athletic. And that was kind of the beginning of that all over the National Football
They
League.
draft running backs. They draft players and they develop them. That's what you got to do, not just call plays. All right, I'm done.
All right. You want to pick some? Oh, let me put a button on that real quick. This is why I was getting to the point about the Jets. So the point differential -110. It means they've been outscored by 110 points this year. They're on pace to be outscored by 293 points. That's 18 points per game. This is historically bad.
Same as the Cowboys, right?
Historically bad. God,
These are some bad teams in the NFL right now.
Yeah, it's bad. Time for a quick timeout to tell you about a few of our sponsors. And we start with Greens Plus, a health food leader since 1989, known for creating the first ever blended green superfood powder and the first company to infuse that green superfood into a bar. The bars, powders, taste great. The most effective way to improve your immunity, detox your body, boost your energy, and get that nutritional insurance that your body deserves. All organic, gluten-free, available at Whole Foods, Amazon, or greensplus.com. I recommend going to greensplus.com because you get 20% off if you use the promo code HELLY. You like smoothies? Throw some wild berry superfood powder in there. Greens Plus. At Vaco, the motto is we invest in your career, so you are here for the duration of ours. Vaco, a premier talent and solutions firm that provides boutique-level service with global reach in the areas of consulting, consultative project resources, executive search, permanent placement, and strategic staffing. You need somebody to fill that C-suite position, Vaco has you covered. Their areas of expertise all across the board, folks. Accounting, finance, tech, healthcare IT, ops, administration, or international managed services. They were founded in 2002. One of the founding partners, my good buddy Brian Waller, a University of Tennessee alum. He did not like how things went this past weekend against Georgia, I can tell you that much. But Vaco's still growing. They serve over 40 markets across the globe, 1,000 employees, 5,000 consultants, and $750 million in revenue. At Vaco, they're doing it right. Check them out, vaco.com. That's VACO.com for more info on how they can connect people to their dream jobs and help leading companies find talent to grow their business. I'm not sure how long it's been. I think probably 3 months or so, but I tried this new product called True Niagen, and I think you should too. There is a trend, MJD, in the scientific community that surrounds the health of our cells. It affects all of us, from former athletes like you to the weekend warriors like myself. We have something in our cells called NAD, which supports our energy and our body's ability to repair itself all the way down to the cellular level. Well, it turns out that NAD declines as we age. It also declines when we overexercise or we don't sleep enough, and even when we're exposed to a virus. There is only one NAD booster that is backed by Nobel Prize-winning scientists, 10 published human studies, and regulatory approvals for safety, and that is True Niagen. Visit TrueNiagen.com to learn more. That's TruNiagen. I haven't been sick in 3 months since I've taken this stuff. It's good. Pittsburgh undefeated. Tennessee, undefeated. This game was supposed to be played a couple of weeks ago, and it is it's the best game of the week.
No question.
This is going to be.
It was like the Browns and Steelers last week.
Well,
Dan thought it was one.
Come on, I did pick Cleveland there, and I'll be honest, I'm going to pick Tennessee here.
You know what? Listen. This is one of the toughest games that I think to call, to pick.
Well, it shouldn't be. You picked Houston last week over Tennessee. You
I did.
Pick Pittsburgh this week.
Well, I'm
going to
pick Pittsburgh, but I'm going to tell you why I'm going to pick Pittsburgh. Is because I think losing Taylor Lewan messes up the whole flow. Because Taylor Lewan would have been really good against Bud Dupree. Mm-hmm. It would have been it would have nullified him in the running game. Passing game, I think Bud Dupree still has an edge there. But now with him not being there, and the way this defense is flying around, I know they lost Devin Bush. I get that. But Devin Bush he's the one that got them all situated and all that. I get that. But that front five that rushes the quarterback and stops a run, there's nothing like it in the NFL. There's not one team like it. And that's what makes Pittsburgh so scary because guess what? All of a sudden, Big Ben is back playing well. They're running the ball. They're getting healthy. Chase Claypool is becoming a man all of a sudden. You don't even hear about Juju Smith-Schuster, who's still one of the better young receivers in the league. And then James Washington showing up. And then, let me tell you about the fourth guy that was hurt last week. Deontay Johnson, who leads them in receiving
Dude, we were talking about Deontay Johnson being their number one receiver the first 2 weeks of the season.
So that's what I'm saying. Like Pittsburgh, and I love what Mike Tomlin, he challenges his guys each week. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are all about hard-nosed football. Well, this is a hard-nosed game. And guess where Vrabel learned his style of play?
Pittsburgh. He was there for 4 years. That's the team that drafted him. Never started for that Steelers defense for the most part.
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I'm telling you, like, this is a great game. But I think at the end of the day, injuries is what's going to hurt the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I'm worried a little bit about the Tennessee defense. Hasn't been great against the pass or on third down. It's kind of been in bend but don't break mode. It's strength on strength.
Yeah,
that defense is so good against the run. They're one of the best run blitzing teams.
They're number two. They're number 2 in the NFL against the run at 60-some yards a game. Yeah.
Well, and they bring in the Mike Hilton, who's their nickel corner, and Vince Williams. I mean, they're awesome against the run. And historically, Derrick Henry, when he goes against really good teams against the run, doesn't play great. Like, he's okay. He's not great. And I think that they need Derrick to be great in this game. What about
Ryan? I mean, you were talking about how good Ryan Tannehill is. Why can't he be great?
Well, and I think he will be. I think Ryan Tannehill is who's going to have to win him this game, and that's why I think it's going to happen.
I don't think Ryan Tannehill is better than Ben Roethlisberger right now.
Really?
I just don't. I think he does well, but Big Ben drops back and throws his ball, and then Tennessee's defense, you just gave up 36 points or whatever it was. Like, come on.
Yeah, they've given up
a lot of points.
They've given up 30 points in 3 out of their last 4 games.
That ain't gonna cut it against this team.
But I'll tell you this about this Tennessee defense. They have some ballers now. Like, they have some guys who can play. Jeffrey Simmons, I don't know if there's a better defensive lineman against the run.
One of the best picks in the draft that year.
I mean, he
sat him out and gave him a redshirt year, let him come back, and now he's an animal. He was a top 5 pick before he tore his ACL, by the way.
He was a stud. Kevin Byard, just a ball hawk in the secondary. So I think on every level of the defense, they have playmakers. They just haven't really put it all together yet, and they're going to have to do that.
So Kevin Byard was upset that he didn't make the top 100. You better show up this week, because if you don't show up this week, Big Ben and company going to let it air out on you. And Chase Claypool is no joke.
No, he's not. He's becoming a problem. All right, I'm going Tennessee. You're going Pittsburgh there. Carolina, New Orleans. Carolina coming in at 3-3. New Orleans 3-2. Michael Thomas going to be back.
Teddy, come on. What are we really going to do this or what?
You just want to pick New Orleans like that?
Listen,
that easy?
New Orleans. The thing is, it's this Panthers defense. They're just not ready yet. They're young. They do some things. I know Teddy's going to throw the ball. He's playing well, but
he's efficient. He's completing 70%
Mike
of his passes.
Mike Thomas is back. Yeah, he had his little issue last week. Like, let's Drew Brees and company.
Are you just ready to go? You just want to throw him out there?
I'm just this one for sure.
Okay,
and maybe the next one too. Let's not even waste our time on this.
I have the Saints 34-28.
Yeah, you giving Carolina too much love. They may score 14.
Okay, all right. You think that's going to be a blowout?
Unless is Christian McCaffrey coming back?
No.
Well, they may score 14.
Mike Davis been playing all right, dude.
He has been, but he ain't C-Mac.
Okay.
And that's what you need to beat the Saints.
Green Bay coming off that brutal loss against the Bucs. Houston's 1-5. I mean, I know you love Houston. Pick them to beat everybody. You might as well pick them to beat Green Bay.
I just said if they beat the Titans, it's horrible. If they beat the Titans, then I was going to pick them this week, but obviously they didn't do that. So I'll rock with.
So now you're done with him.
Yeah, I give you. Oh yeah, I have the right to change my mind.
Just put him in.
It's a free country. I can do what I want.
Okay, all right.
Listen, I told you if they beat the Tennessee Titans, I was going to ride with them the rest of the year. They did it.
So now it's over.
I'm done with it.
Their run defense.
Stick a fork in them.
The run defense is horrible.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones is going to run roughshod. 601 yards is what they gave up to Tennessee last week.
I think Tennessee gave up something close to that too, though.
Yeah, I have down here. You've altered my pick a little bit. I have down here 40-32. I thought this would be a shootout. I think it's gonna be more like 40-22. I think
Green Bay's defense is actually really good. Aaron Rodgers put him in some bad spots.
He did.
I think it'd be a little bit wider.
Okay, this one's more interesting. Seattle undefeated. Coming off a bye week, taking on Arizona, who's 4-2. But listen, Arizona has played in the last 2 weeks the Jets and the Cowboys. It was a weird game last week. Kyler Murray only completed 9 passes, 37% of his throws.
That's what I'm saying. Like we're gassing him up. Like he was bad.
Yeah, he wasn't good.
The only thing that was good for him is because Mike Nolan, again, who's one of our colleagues, couldn't adjust to the running quarterback. They had no answer for him. They literally had no answer for him taking off and running. And that's what Kyler Murray does. And so you have to have an answer for it. Now, you have to let me know, is Jamal Adams back this week?
It's from that groin injury. They were hoping he would be back. We do not have an answer on that as of the taping of this podcast.
Okay, so if he's back, I mean, I'm going to go with Seattle regardless because I believe in Russell Wilson. I believe in DK Metcalf. I believe that he's going to score at least 2 big touchdowns down the field. I think Tyler Lockett's going to be good. And they're back. The Seahawks are back healthy, and I know that Arizona defense is ranked 2nd in the league right now. But again, you play the Jets and you play the Cowboys. Like that's going to boost you up a little bit. This is going to be a true test. Can you stop the run? Which not having Chandler Jones and finding a way to get to the quarterback. You can't have Buddy. I know they were bigging him up on Monday Night Football. I forget his name. No. The DN that was like a special teams guy. That first time he goes in, he gets pressure on Andy Dalton. Like that ain't happening with Russell Wilson, bro. Like so. And you have to run the ball against the Seattle Seahawks. And that's how they beat him in Seattle last year. I just don't know if Kenyon Drake is that same dude. I don't know yet. Like, is this a one-game wonder? You give me a 160 once, and
he hadn't done a whole lot before that, man.
Exactly. So I don't know yet.
Well, so who are you taking?
Seattle.
Okay.
And I don't think it's going to be as close as you have it.
I have it 37-34, and I think this is going to be an absolute shootout.
It's in Arizona, though, right? Yeah, it says it at Arizona.
Yeah,
I still think Russ and them on a mission.
All right. San Francisco, New England.
This is where we're going to get a little freaky.
Yeah? Okay, so here's the deal. And you've seen this before numerous times. Jimmy G going back to Foxborough. Bill's gassing him up on all the interviews. But here's the deal. Belichick is 7-1 against quarterbacks that started for him
who they are.
or he drafted in 2000.
Yeah.
And here's the blueprint. 2 weeks ago, former Belichick protege Brian Flores, he made Garoppolo look so bad against Miami that Kyle had to pull him. He was benched.
Yeah.
Kittle, speaking of gassing people up, we talked to Joe Mixon a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. Bill Belichick said he was one of the top running backs in football, if not the best running back. He's basically saying the same thing about George Kittle right now, which is entirely accurate. All that means is that
they're going to try to take him out of the game.
100%. He's going to be a ghost in this game.
That's fine. The problem is, though, you still have to deal with Deebo Samuel, and they are running the ball like no one. You better – Trent Williams.
Yeah, I love Trent.
Listen, these dudes –
know this.
What Kyle Shanahan is doing, and even if Mostert goes on IR and they don't play him, they're going to run a bunch of other dudes
on
out.
IR.
Did he go on IR already?
Yeah.
I know they said they were talking about it. Did he go on IR?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, the frog and the scorpion was a good one, though, right?
I have to take the frog and the scorpion out of
question.
Google.
But even then, you still have Jerick McKinnon, who's going to give you yards, and you still have Deebo Samuel, who can run the ball. You can bring in – they brought in a rookie from Baylor, I want to say, who was toting that thing against the rim. I mean, they're going to roll dudes out there. And then, you know what, to be honest, they're getting healthier on defense. And that's what's scary because Cam, there is no real threat offensively for the Patriots, but Cam Newton right now. And you're going to get James White out of the backfield. That's about it.
I just don't see – you're talking about the hasty kid, right? The running back out of Baylor.
Again, he's fast. He fits their mold of running back that they want to do. They're going to shorten – listen, this is what Kyle Shanahan does. He gets the ball out quick. They'll do a lot of quick game. They'll do some shotgun play action pass. They'll get the ball. I'm taking the Niners in this one. Even though I don't ever take the Niners, this is going to be the one we disagree on.
Can you envision, though, in your mind, the Patriots dropping to 2-4?
I can envision them losing to the Broncos.
Yeah,
and the Niners are better than them.
I just feel like Cam hadn't played in a while, and this was such a strategic error. I'm doing this fantasy football league with my college buddies, and I'm 0-6. And it's terrible. And they said, Helly.
That shit's contagious, Dan. Keep that 0-6 over there with you.
They said, Helly, you might want to listen to a fantasy football podcast. It was an auction draft. It's bad. Other leagues are much better. Much better.
Stay over there.
Bad. I know. Don't worry. I won't breathe.
I'll take the Niners in this one so we can move on past it. That 0-6 is nasty.
My point about that was saying that I started Cam Newton last week over Deshaun. And that was just a miserable decision. He just looks skittish, man. When you're still learning a new offense, and you take a couple of weeks off, and then you're back, that's not a recipe for success.
It's not. The only thing that concerns me about the Niners is the lack of pass rush. So we'll see what they do with that.
I'm picking the Patriots.
Fred Warner's the real deal, though.
He is. Fred Warner's a good player. I just feel like the Patriots are not falling to 2-4 at home. They find a way.
Tom ain't walking through that door
to pull this one out. Okay, Tampa Bay and the Raiders. The Raiders coming off that win over KC. They've had a bye week, and it's a different type of bye this year, right? Guys aren't going to the Bahamas. They're not traveling home to see their family.
You're still practicing.
They're hanging out. They're because they have to get tested every day, so they can't leave the city in which they play. So I think people are coming up. You're going to be refreshed, but you're also going to be more focused coming off buys this year. Why are you looking at me like that? Because you don't think it's going to matter for the Raiders.
You need to get a break. This is a marathon. This season's a marathon. It's not like I think people fail to realize like you're playing football and you're in it for months, like 6 months. So you need something to break it up, and that's what that bye week is for. I feel bad for teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers who got an early bye week. You got to run through, right? But it's part of it. I just think talking about this game, I just feel like the Buccaneers are kind of starting to hit their stride.
Yes.
And that's when they're getting healthy. They're starting to figure out what they're doing, and it clicked after that in that second quarter of that Green Bay game. It kind of clicked. The defense is making plays.
Is this a Super Bowl defense?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I mean,
I picked them to be in the Super Bowl, actually. I picked Tampa. I think I said Tampa in Kansas City or Tampa in Pittsburgh. I mean, it looks like they get turn the ball over, they stop the run, and they flustered the hell out of Aaron Rodgers, which means they can do the same to Derek Carr with less weapons, right? Like Darren Waller, we're going to see who's going to cover him, but Henry Ruggs is out there. They'll probably try to take him away with the deep stuff, but they can get pressure. They can get pressure on you. They can rush the quarterback. And Ndamukong Suh was dominating the Green Bay Packers. Like, if he continues to play like that, it's a problem.
Or you think Levante David and Devin White are two of the best linebackers in football? I mean, that's a good core. And you got Shaq Barrett. I mean, you got guys all over the place. Vea. I mean,
they just traded for McClendon, another run stopper to put in there. Like, that's Todd Bowles going to get his guys. Smart.
Antoine Winfield's been a tremendous addition.
And that's who's probably going to cover Darren Waller, too.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good call. Are you sold on Ronald Jones? When you look at his numbers right now, they're almost the same as Josh Jacobs. And between the tackles, he's averaging like 6.4 yards per carry. Can
I tell you what the difference is? He's not the piece that everyone's like trying to stop. They rather him run the ball than Tom throw the ball to Mike Evans. And so it depends. Like I don't try to put – when you look at stats, it lies to you sometimes because like Josh Jacobs is the focal point of that offense. People try to stop the run when they play the Raiders.
Right. Absolutely.
And then they're like, all right, and then we'll stop the run, and then we'll try to take away the deep pass. We'll force Derek to check the ball down. When you play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you're not going in there saying, all right, we're going to stop Ronald Jones this week. No, you're not saying that. I mean, he hasn't done enough. He's playing well now. I actually put him in my top 15 running backs because I've just been hating on him because he went to SC. But he's running well, but teams aren't trying to stop him yet.
He's not the guy.
Yeah, he's not the guy. So he's going to continue to run well. And Tom wants to run the ball. They're trying to run the ball a lot more, which I like. I wish you had him on your fantasy team. You probably wouldn't be 0-6. But Ronald Jones is playing.
I should have never put that out there.
Ronald Jones is playing. He's playing really well, and that's what's going to allow this offense to grow. Because guess what? All they want to do is run the ball, play action pass to the ball deep. That's what they want to do. And the way Gronk's playing, Brate's out there, like. They got some weapons that you have to deal with. And then that young running back they had in Vaughn comes in and starts running too. And you got Shady, you got Leonard Fournette who still hasn't played yet.
Yeah, it's weird. He was inactive last week.
Well, yeah, they were like, look, we're not going to put you out there if you're not 100% healthy. We need you. You know what? Leonard Fournette is what we call a cold weather back. Pick him up in fantasy if you don't have him to help your 0-6 team. Because when it gets cold, they're going to start running Fournette. I guarantee you.
Well, he reminds me of that back that Brady has had like a Corey Dillon
Yeah,
back in the day.
Lawrence Maroney, Corey Dillon.
Yes.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah. All right. So your pick there, I guess, is the Bucs.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
All right. I think it's going to be close. I think the Raiders are going to hang around. It's going to go 29-26. But
You
Tampa Bay
still got that Chiefs. You got to remember the Chiefs. They're individual. They play them all the time. It's different. The scheme is different. Let me give you a little heads up before we go. When you play a team twice a year, you draft to beat those teams. You scheme to beat those teams. When you play a team once every 4 years, it's like it's like a different game. It's like me and you working every day together, and then one day they throw someone else in here, and I have to try to find it. It starts off a little shaky because I don't really know you, and it goes for both sides. But at the end of the day, it's whoever has the most talent on that roster is going to have the better advantage. That's why I picked Tampa in that situation.
All right. That makes a lot of sense. Dude, sometimes you bring up really good points.
Stop it, Dan. I'm going to charge you because I just gave you a fantasy tip. That's $5, bro.
All right. That's fine. I got you, man. If I can get off the schneid for my 0-6 record. Thanks, buddy. Have a good week. We'll see you week 8.
I'm ready.